Okay, hi everybody. Welcome back. We are starting the last part of Unit 4 today. It'll take today and the next time around, and we will finish. And then next week we'll be testing. So this part is domestic and social policy. So I divided this into two because I tend to talk a little bit in this one as we go through some stuff. So we'll see what we're talking about. This first slide, we talk about where it comes from. And this phrase here, to provide for the, and then it's truncated there, and then the general welfare is at the end. That comes from Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1. Here it is redone for you, so you don't have to write this down, just shows you where it is. Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. So, what does that mean, the general welfare portion? This is all rhetorical. Does it mean we restrict spending? Does it mean we spend to meet national needs? And of course, the idea is, what in the world would national needs be, and who gets to define that? And is that what welfare is? When you say welfare, is that what we're talking about? The general term that we use in the country today about what welfare is. All right, so this slide has a hodgepodge of info on it, and the last bit doesn't seem to go with it, but you'll see because I need to talk about it because I need to define it. But give you the idea from the New Deal to new healthcare law. So this is just healthcare portion, and as well as Social Security. So we start with in the New Deal. Remember Franklin Roosevelt getting this started. The insurance program for the unemployed, but for the elderly, is really what it was geared towards. Unemployment is a small part of what the Social Security program is. Social Security, Medicare, unemployment insurance, those kind of things are what's in there. But Medicare wasn't done in the New Deal part. Medicare was done in 1965, but that sort of fills those things in. There's an assistance program as well. It's called SSI, for the blind, for disabled, for dependent children, and for the aged who need it. Dependent children means basically dependent children who at least has had one parent that has passed away while they are still a dependent. And then we have assistance programs that have come through over time. Those are generally, we call them for the poor. We call them as a generic big word, welfare. And then Medicaid is also part of that idea. Obamacare then comes along in 2010, I guess. And that is an extension. And then, of course, that's the new healthcare law that we're talking about. Okay, so this next thing doesn't quite go with it, but we have to talk about what means testing means because it comes into play in the next few slides, and then as we go on through the rest of this particular presentation. So we're just defining that here. A means test means basically limiting benefits or ending them as income or wealth increases. The idea is that if you have the means to support yourself and whatnot, then you don't need the welfare. That's what we mean by means testing. Do you have the means? So it's again, the more income you have, the less you can get of these particular things that we call welfare, or of course none as it gets higher. Okay, I'm going to pause. Okay, we're back. So starting social welfare policy, we divide it into two big giant categories here. So there's two kinds. We call the kind, it will say benefits most, and the other side is benefits few. And we're going to compare these as we go through. So on the benefits most side, it's most people pay into it some way or other. Benefits few side, most people pay into it. On the benefits most side, there is no means test. So there's no test for it. If you fit the qualifications, Social Security falls into this, give you an idea. Once you turn 65 or 67, whatever the eligible age is, you get it. Whether you are the poorest person in the world or you're Bill Gates, okay? Bill Gates gets Social Security. Former President Trump gets Social Security. Former President Obama gets Social Security. They're all ultra rich people, okay? But Obama doesn't quite get it yet because it's not the age. But when he hits the age, he is eligible for Social Security. It is what it is, okay? On the other side, then, the benefits few side is it is means tested. So these are the welfare programs that we generally talk about when we say generically in our country welfare. The benefits most side is majoritarian politics. We talked about that the last couple of times. The benefits few side is client politics. A lot of it is in there. We'll talk about that when we get there and talk about some of those programs. Social Security and Medicare, again, are in that benefits most, no means test side. And then TANF, which is Temporary Aid for Needy Families. That's the acronym used for welfare these days. SNAP is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and that is also for poorer people with children. The issue, of course, with the benefits most side is cost, and the issue on the benefits few side is legitimacy. When we say that, we mean, are the people who legitimately need it getting it, or are too many people getting it? That's the idea when we say legitimacy. All right, so let's talk about Social Security. We'll talk about Social Security. We'll finish with that. And we'll pick up next time with Medicare. So what's the issue with Social Security? I just went through it. The issue is cost. Cost. Okay? And so just to give you an idea, when it was created in 1935, each retiree who was 65 years or older was supported by the Social Security taxes of 42 workers. Okay? To give you an idea now, it's supported by the taxes of 3 workers. There is a lot more, and it costs a lot more. Okay? Social Security tax is 12.4%. It is called a payroll tax. So if you see the word payroll tax, we're talking about Social Security and Medicare taxes. If you work and if you're working now and you get a pay stub, you will see that on there. You might see it as FICA, or you might see it as Social Security, and then broken out. Medicare is also broken out separately. That's what it is. Okay. Now that 12.4% payroll tax, they say that you pay half, so your income is 6.2% taxed for Social Security. There's another bit of tax for Medicare, and they say half is paid by the employer. But what that really means is you pay it all. Okay? Do not get fooled by that. It's subterfuge used by politicians. Okay? You pay it all because the employer has to figure that into his cost for each employee. So if the employer has that cost for an employee and 6.2% of that goes to Social Security, that's 6.2% less than they could pay you. Okay? So in reality, you pay. Just like you all pay, consumers pay corporate income tax. You want to raise corporate income taxes? All that does is raise prices because we end up paying in the stuff that we buy. Same idea here. All right, so what that's used for? That's used to pay for current benefits. Anything left is supposed to be invested, and when they say invested, they buy treasury bonds. But what that really means, just like anybody buying bonds, if you buy a government bond, that means the government is borrowing from you, whether it's Social Security or whether it's you buying bonds. This means the government borrows it to spend on other things and promises to pay it back later, because all of that money is spent on the budget. Okay, whether they collect more than they need for Social Security, but the extra that's left over is spent on other things in the budget. And we looked at the spending, remember, the mandatory spending and the discretionary spending the other day, and looked at some of those charts and things. But it's promised to be paid back. Now that means that I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to retire here, whenever that is coming up. But you guys and your children are the ones who are going to be suffering from the issues, and let's talk about the issues that come up with Social Security as time goes on. So 2/3 by 2030, that's 9 years from now, 1/5, sorry, not 2/3, 1/5 of the population will be over 65. Okay, that's a boatload of people. Each day, 10,000 baby boomers retire each day. Now I'm 57 and I'm in the last year of the baby boomers, so I'm not retiring yet. But this is going to continue and continue and continue for 10 more years. Okay, that's a lot of people. If nothing changes, Social Security taxes, and this is by 2033, I think is behind my picture there. Social Security taxes will only pay for 77% of the benefits that are paid out. Like I said, right now, they actually take in more than they spend on Social Security, but then they spend that anyway. And by this time, 77%, if nothing changes, 77% will be. So that means they're going to be borrowing even more money just to pay Social Security, because it won't be covered by the taxes coming in. So what can we do, right? What is the solution? And here it is. Here's the ideas here. So we could raise the retirement age. Sure could. It was 65. It's 67 for me. It's probably higher for you already. We could do that, which means delaying having to spend so less people get it, right? That could be done. We could raise the payroll tax. Everybody loves tax hikes, right? We could raise the payroll tax. We could raise the part of that. We could raise the tax itself, or we could remove the limit. There is a limit on your first. You do not pay on approximately the first $119,000 of your income. You pay Social Security tax. Every dollar after that, you do not pay Social Security tax on. And the idea is that if you paid more than that, if you paid it on more than that, that would exceed the amount that you're going to get back. Because remember, it's your money that you're putting in and your money that you're getting back. So regardless of who you are, if it's me, of course, I pay it Social Security tax on everything because I don't come close to 119,000. But Bill Gates only pays on his income. He only pays Social Security tax on 119,000 approximately. Everything else is not Social Security tax. So you could fix that. You could means test it. You could say, sorry, Bill Gates, you make too much money. You don't need Social Security because he's eligible for it. And former President Trump's eligible for it. And anybody else you can think of that's in the really rich category, they are eligible for Social Security if they've paid into the system and they're 65 or older. They're eligible. We could lower the benefit. That'd be popular, right? Let's lower the benefit. All those old people, you're going to get less. Yeah. We could allow people to invest it themselves. This is what young people like. And I'll show you that shortly on the next presentation. Instead of taking my Social Security taxes, why don't you just let me invest my own dang on money, and I'll make a lot more money with that than I will getting back in Social Security when I turn 65 or 67. Lots and lots of young people love this. And actually, to be honest, I love this too, if it would have happened when I was young. But here's the idea. All of those, any of those things, all you have to do as a politician, if any of those things are proposed, all you have to do is say in your campaigns, the other guy wants to take away your Social Security. You will lose. Okay, the person that's used against them, that politician will lose. Because remember who votes more than anybody else? Older people. And you cannot, the other guy will, regardless of whether it threatens their Social Security or not, will say, you will lose your Social Security, they want to take your Social Security away, and then you will lose. That's why it's called, I don't know if you are familiar with what this means, it's called the third rail of American politics. When I did this for first period today, none of them knew what third rail meant. So I got to explain it. If you've ever ridden the MARTA train, if you've ever ridden the subway in another city, things like that, if you look on the tracks there, if you're on the platform and the train's not there, and you look on the tracks, there's the two tracks, excuse me, that the train runs on. And then on the other side of that, there's a third rail. It's raised, it's different looking, but it's the third rail. That's where the electricity comes from. Guess what happens if you touch that third rail? You die. That's what it is. If a politician tries to touch Social Security, they will die. And that is a truism in American politics. That's why it can't get fixed. Okay? What says behind my name, my picture there, Social Security and Medicare are the easiest issues in the U.S. to demagogue. That means to play up, to make people think it's something different than what it is. It's the easiest thing to do. This page is the main reason why Social Security can't get fixed. And somebody's going to have to do it, but who knows what it is, because politicians won't, because they're concerned about their next election. All right, that is it for this one. We'll see you on the other side.